Greetings, greetings, greetings. It is me, the one and only Chef Kitura here on this super sensational Sunday. How are you and yes, you too. How are you doing this evening? I am absolutely amazing. And guess what? You know what it is. You know what we do. Chef Couture is here with Chef Couture's Kiss, or the Chef's Kiss, keeping it super simple. So, a little bit about me and why I started Chef's Kiss. I was doing a segment earlier this year um, with an insurance company, and it was thriving after 60, the art of healthy cooking. And I wanted to be able to identify ways for people to have some really good food and stay as healthy as possible with a little cheat day every now and then, because you already know everything in moderation. You can have everything in moderation and still be okay. So, because season is changing, we're in the fall, it's all about comfort food for me right now. So, I'm doing something a little different this evening. We're going to do pasta. And normally I don't do a lot of pasta, but we're going to do some pasta tonight, and we're going to have some shrimp along with that pasta. We're going to do a homemade cream sauce that contains sun-dried tomatoes and spinach and some heavy cream, and then some fresh Parmesan cheese grated on top of it. So I've already got my water boiling over here. We want your water to come to a rolling boil before you add in your pasta. So because I've got this going, I'm going to season the water. And that just means adding salt or whatever seasoning that you want to add to it. So, and when you're doing this, you season the water ahead of time so that your pasta noodles have an opportunity to absorb flavor at the same time. You know, sometimes you'll get somewhere and you'll have pasta and you're like, wow, the sauce is great, but there's no flavor in the pasta. So you season your water ahead of time, and this applies for pasta, it applies for rice, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and season this. You want to put a generous amount. So I added that to the water. Now what we're going to do, we're going to get a head start. I'm going to give a little chop to my sun-dried tomatoes here that we're going to add to the pasta and the pasta sauce. Go ahead and put on some gloves so that my hands don't get all oily. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a rough chop. And for this particular recipe, it calls for oil and let's see here. So instead of using regular olive oil, I am going to use the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes. And I love sun-dried tomatoes. You can use this when you're making this sauce. You can use regular tomatoes. Sometimes you can get the cherry tomatoes or cherub tomatoes, and you can blister those up and make a different sauce this way. I wanted to go with the sun-dried tomatoes because I love, love, love tomatoes. All right. I don't know if I want to cut just a little bit more. I think I will. All right. This to the side here. And what I did was I reserved some of the oil from the sun-dried tomato so that when I get ready to add the cream and the spinach, in lieu of using regular olive oil, we're going to go with the oil from the sun-dried tomato. Now, since we've got this pasta and it's really ready, the water for the pasta ready to go, we're going to go ahead and pop the pasta into the water. And I went with the pappardelle noodles, the flat noodles. They look like little nest eggs. So I'm going to put several of these in the water and allow them to start cooking. And then we can go ahead and get started with the shrimp. All right. Just put a few more in there. Set that to the side. Make sure that they are all submerged down into the water and they'll get an even cook on them. Let me move these tomatoes out of the way. I'm going to bring a burner over here so that you can see the process of making the sauce. Set those to the side. There. Now, I'm going to get a deep skillet. You want this on a medium heat, so we'll turn that down just a little bit and allow it to start getting hot. We'll go ahead and add just a little bit of that oil to the skillet. We'll coat it. Make sure it's evenly coated. And then I've got the shrimp. I've got some Cajun seasoning on here already. And I'm going to add some of the Love My Everything Feisty. It's got a little smoky heat to it. There we go. Along with some of the bougie. The bougie is a really light seasoning. It's got kind of like a citrusy flavor to it. We'll go ahead. This skillet has gotten nice and hot. Turn it down just a little bit more so that when we start to add the shrimp that they don't cook too fast, although it doesn't take that long for shrimp to cook. You need like a minute and a half per side, depending on the size of the shrimp. Go ahead and get those in there. Making sure that they are not crowding one another. I think we got a little more room in the playground to add the rest of the shrimp. I like shrimp. So we're going to make sure that we got plenty. So we will allow those to cook. And then we are going to prepare, just to keep an eye on the pasta. You'll want that al dente. And so we're probably going to allow that to cook for maybe about another 3 or 4 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to let this shrimp cook. We're going to start our prep for the sauce itself. So what will happen is once we finish with the shrimp, we'll remove them from the skillet, allow them to kind of hang out and rest a little bit. Then we'll add some heavy cream, allow that to start to cook. We'll add the shrimp along with the sun-dried tomatoes, let them hang out in the sandbox for a little while, get those flavors married together. Then we will add the pasta, allow that pasta to go ahead and absorb all of the goodness from the sauce itself, allow that cream to cling to the pasta, and at the very end, we will go ahead and incorporate that shrimp. Because what we want to make sure that we don't do is overcook the shrimp. Once we cook it this time and we remove it from the skillet, when we add it back, we don't want it to cook anymore. I don't know if you've ever had some shrimp and you're chewing it and you feel like you're chewing gum. That means your shrimp is overcooked. So we're going to avoid that if all possible. I'm going to go ahead and turn these over. Just allowing them to get a little crispy brown on each side. Turning them over, turning them over. Just like that. Then go ahead and put my little fingers in there, help them out a little bit. Some of them were neglecting to want to turn over. But the cool thing about this is the shrimp aren't overly hot, you know, and if you've been cooking for a long time, such as yours truly, your hands kind of get numb to doing certain things. So it's like, it's easier just to go ahead and flip those shrimp over. What you don't want to do is go ahead and just start moving them all around. You want to make sure that they're cooked evenly throughout. Each one is cooked properly. You don't want the raw shrimp. So I'm going to move these over. This one needs a little bit more love. That one needs to hang out on the beach a little bit more, needs some color. As I said, my food hangs out in the sandbox, get some color. Nice and golden brown. All right. I'm going to let that cook just a little bit longer, and then we'll remove them. Now, in the meantime, we're checking on the pasta. It is perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. We're also going to reserve some of this pasta water so that when we add and incorporate it all together, if it's a little bit stiff, you just want to use some of the pasta water to loosen it up a little bit. But the good thing about pasta water is it doesn't allow it to get like loosey-goosey. It gives it a nice, smooth, creaminess to it versus clumping up and being too thick. But there is some thickness there. All right. Let's get our shrimp out of the sandbox. Allow them to kind of hang out over here to the side. And then we will go ahead and pull that pasta from the water. It's a lot of shrimp. This I will end up saving and making a salad out of some of these for lunch during the week. All right. Set those right there. Now we're going to add just a little bit more of this sun-dried tomato oil. We're going to add some minced garlic to this as well. And allow it to become nice and aromatic. I'm going in with the garlic. I'm going in with the garlic. I'm going to turn this down because what we don't want to happen is for the garlic to start to burn. Turn that water off on that pasta. I'm going to slide over so we can drain off that water. Un momento, por favor. All right, so I was able to save some of that water that we wanted to reserve. We'll set this over here to the side. Now we are going to add in our heavy cream. I'm going to start out with about a cup. Let's shake that up a little bit. One thing about when you're using heavy cream, if you don't shake it prior to using, sometimes when you start to pour it, it looks a little clumpy and you're like, is that good? Is it bad? So you just want to make sure that you've had an opportunity to get all of the smoothiness into it. Now that we've done that, we can add a little bit more heat to it. About right there. Get my spatula. So make sure that as it's starting to incorporate into, you got the cream. When it starts to get a little heat to it, I'll go ahead and add in my sun-dried tomatoes along with some spinach. Let's get gloves on here. It's already starting to boil. So I'm going to take the sun-dried tomatoes that I chopped up and add it to this goodness over here. I love sun-dried tomatoes. Yes, yes, yes. A little bit more in there. Now we're going to go ahead and add that spinach in. Depending on how much spinach you like, you can add, and you know, spinach is just like any other greens, like your collard greens and your mustard greens and turnips and all that. They do wilt a lot. So if you want a lot of spinach, you need to make sure you add a lot to the mix. So if I were making this for a large crowd, I probably would add about 4 cups of spinach. I'm just preparing this for lunch for the rest of the week. Mm. That heavy cream is starting to thicken. We've got the spinach, the sun-dried tomatoes. Yes. I'm going to take this pasta and add it to it. Let's see. And I want to go in. Save me, save me. Mhm. Mix this all together. Oh, it looks so good. Mhm. Now we're going to take that Parmesan cheese and shred it on top. And this will also thicken up your pasta as well. Nice and cheesy. I like to use the fresh Parmesan. Now, sometimes I will purchase the already like shaved Parmesan, but when you're making the fresh sauce like this, you go ahead and get this goodness going here. Blend it all in. This looks amazing. And I could have actually added some more spinach to this. Add just a little bit of that water that we reserved. Now we're going to add some of the shrimp to it. Just a few. And then we're going to plate, which is my favorite part because then we get to eat. Just get my bowl. Add my pasta. Get me some shrimp and some sun-dried tomatoes. This is going to be absolutely amazing. My favorite part. Bon appetit. I like the flat noodles when I'm doing something like this versus your traditional if you went with spaghetti. Gotta get all of the goodness, the spinach and the sun-dried tomato, and we gotta get a shrimp. But we're gonna wait a little bit before we try to put that in your mouth because that steam is saying, whoa, Kimosabe, hold on a little bit. Mm. 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 It's so good. Hmm. I have something else I'm gonna add to it. It's so good. I got some lemon zest. That lemon is going to elevate, that zest is going to elevate this times 10. It was already super flavorful. Gonna mix it up again. This time I think I just want the pasta so I can taste that lemon that I just added to it. Like so long. Mm-hmm. Mm. That was it. Oh yeah. The sun-dried tomato with the lemon zest. So even though you've got two acids, they're not fighting with one another. They're actually complementing one another. And then that pasta sauce with that heavy cream. And then we incorporated the Parmesan cheese into it, made it even more creamier. This is a really, really good comfort food. All of those flavors hanging out together. The shrimp was a nice add. If you are vegetarian and you don't want to add the shrimp, no big deal. That pasta by itself is a total meal. Um, if you're a bread person, you can get you some garlic bread or some French bread and add that to it. Um, this would also be amazing with some salmon. If you want to grill some salmon and place that on top of the pasta, or make some salmon nuggets and have it all throughout, whatever you want to do. This is so versatile and so full of flavor. And guess what? It was done in less than 30 minutes. You can make a nice pot of this and you have it for dinner. Take the leftovers for lunch the next day, or you have it for dinner one night and have it again for dinner the next night. Whatever you want to do, you can make a large quantity of this and it not take a long time. And it's so good. It is so good. So to recap, we went with the pappardelle noodles versus spaghetti. You can do this with fettuccine. You can make this with spaghetti. However you want to make it, it's totally up to you. Whatever pasta you want to use, it's your dish. So you get to make it however you want to. I like using the pappardelle noodles. So we went with that. We made sure that we seasoned the water, got the water to a rolling boil, seasoned the water, allow that salt to be able to flavor that pasta while it's cooking. Go ahead and strain it off, reserving some of that pasta water just in case you need it for the dish later. Then you got your cut up sun-dried tomatoes, and instead of olive oil, just your regular olive oil, I poured off some of the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes and use that to make this more flavor forward with the sun-dried tomatoes. Then we took that shrimp, we added some Cajun seasoning along with the Love My Everything seasoning and the Bougie. Well, the Love My Everything Feisty and Bougie. Got that nice blend going with there. So the shrimp was, boom, 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 about a minute and a half per side, making sure that they're not overcooked. You just want to cook your shrimp until they're no longer translucent on each side. Go ahead, remove that shrimp from the skillet. And that way you're really limiting the number of items that you need. So you got your skillet, you prepared the shrimp and everything in that same skillet. The only other pot or skillet that you need was what we prepared the pasta in. And this was all something that I used, to hold the sun-dried tomatoes in, but you don't need a bowl for that. You can cut up those sun-dried tomatoes and leave them on your cutting board. Once you remove the shrimp, set those to the side. Add the cream into the skillet. Once you've removed the shrimp, allow that to come to a boil. Then you can add the sun-dried tomatoes in there, your spinach in there, let them hang out in the playground together. You can go ahead and add the shrimp in there and your pasta along with the Parmesan cheese. And baby, your dish is ready to eat. So on that note, on this Sunday evening, you know what it is and you know what I do. If you haven't heard it from anyone else today, know that me, the one and only Chef Kitura. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I thank you for all of your love and support. Until next time, there's a kiss.